being devoured by dark water. Only Ren, a young prince, can stop it by finding the lost 13 treasures of rule.
The goat, the gold. Listen up, because I'm about to tell you about one of the biggest tragedies in animation history, and I don't use that word lightly. Pirates of Dark Water might be the most ambitious animated series of the early 90s that nobody got to see finished.
It's high adventure with the Pirates of Dark Water.
The setup was incredible, a serialized fantasy epic with genuine stakes, morally complex characters who actually grew and changed, gorgeous animation that pushed Hanna-Barbera beyond anything they'd done before, an original alien world with its own mythology, cultures, and history, and most importantly, an actual ongoing storyline in an era when cartoons reset to zero every single episode. This was a show that anticipated the serialized storytelling of Avatar, The Last Airbender, by over a decade. It was prestige animation before prestige animation existed. The show needed to find 13 treasures of rule to complete its story, 13 treasures to save the world. They produced 21 episodes across 2 seasons, and when the dust settled, they'd found exactly 8 treasures.
I've got it! I've got the treasure!
8 out of 13. The quest was never completed. The dark water was never stopped. The hero never finished his journey. The story just stops mid-sentence, and that's it. Roll credits. Thanks for watching. Go home. Now, most people assume Pirates of Dark Water was canceled because of low ratings. And yeah, that's partially true. But the real story is way more complicated and way more heartbreaking. Because the real reason Pirates of Dark Water died involves a show that was too expensive to produce, a toy line that couldn't find its audience, a network that didn't understand what it had, and a business model that simply couldn't support this level of ambition. This wasn't a bad show that deserved to fail. This was a genuinely great show that got killed by circumstances completely beyond its control. In this video, I'm going to show you 3 things. First, how Hanna-Barbera attempted to reinvent itself with prestige animation when the industry had written them off. Second, the production costs and toy failures that made the show financially unsustainable. And third, why this incomplete ending haunts animation fans to this day in ways that clean failures never do. Let me take you back to 1991, when Hanna-Barbera decided to swing for the fences one last time. Hanna-Barbera's prestige gamble. Alright, so it's the late 1980s. Hanna-Barbera is in serious trouble. Now, if you don't know the name, Hanna-Barbera is the studio that basically defined American television animation for decades. Scooby-Doo, The Flintstones, The Jetsons, Yogi Bear, Johnny Quest. These are the people who figured out how to make animation affordable enough for television when everyone said it couldn't be done. But by the late 80s, that legacy had become a liability. Their limited animation style, which was once revolutionary for television budgets, now looked cheap and dated compared to the competition. Thundercats had fluid action sequences animated in Japan. Transformers had dynamic robot battles. G.I. Joe had military hardware rendered in loving detail. These shows looked cinematic, and Hanna-Barbera cartoons? They looked like what they were, cost-cutting exercises where characters stood still while only their mouths moved. The industry had moved on, and Hanna-Barbera looked like dinosaurs. The studio needed to prove it could still compete. They needed a prestige project that would show the world Hanna-Barbera wasn't just the Scooby-Doo factory anymore. Enter Pirates of Dark Water, originally titled just Dark Water, for its 1991 5-episode miniseries pilot. This was unlike anything Hanna-Barbera had attempted before. The concept was genuinely ambitious. An original fantasy world called Mer, a planet covered almost entirely by ocean. But this wasn't Earth with different names. Mer was a fully realized alien world with its own ecosystems, cultures, political structures, and history. The threat was an alien substance called dark water, a sentient black ooze that was consuming the oceans of Mer, destroying everything it touched. The world was literally dying. The hero was Ren, a young prince who discovers his father was the king of a fallen kingdom. To save Mer, Ren must find the 13 treasures of rule, magical artifacts scattered across the world. Only when all 13 are united can the dark water be stopped. This was serialized storytelling with a clear destination, a hero's quest with specific goals and measurable progress. In an era when every cartoon reset to status quo at the end of each episode, Pirates of Dark Water was building towards something. The creative team went all in on quality, character designs were detailed and expressive. The animation was fluid and dynamic by Hanna-Barbera standards. The backgrounds were painterly and atmospheric, with real mood and texture. And the voice cast? Absolutely stacked. Jodie Benson, fresh off playing Ariel in The Little Mermaid.
It's definitely unique in itself.
As an ecomancer healer, you are my island's only hope.
Benson is no stranger to the world of animation.
Tim Curry bringing theatrical menace to the villain bloth. Brock Peters, Hector Elizondo, Peter Cullen and Frank Welker, the voices of Optimus Prime and Megatron. This was prestige casting. The 5-episode miniseries aired in early 1991 and performed well enough for ABC to order a full series for their Saturday morning block. Hanna-Barbera had their prestige project. They were going to show everyone what they could really do. But prestige comes with a price tag, and that price tag would become a noose around the show's neck. The cost of ambition. Here's the brutal reality that nobody likes to talk about. Pirates of Dark Water was extremely expensive to produce. The animation quality Hanna-Barbera committed to required more frames per second, more detailed backgrounds, more complex character movements than their typical output. This wasn't Scooby-Doo, where Shaggy and Scooby run past the same 3 trees 6 times. Every scene in Pirates of Dark Water required new art, new compositions, new animation. The serialized storytelling compounded the problem. In episodic shows, you can reuse footage. You can recycle transformation sequences, repeated action beats, stock animations. Fans joke about it, but it saves enormous amounts of money. Pirates of Dark Water couldn't do that as easily. Each episode had to advance the plot. New locations meant new backgrounds. New treasures meant new designs. New story beats meant new animation. The efficiencies that made television animation affordable simply didn't apply. Episode budgets reportedly ran significantly higher than standard Saturday morning fare, and Saturday morning cartoons in the early 90s operated on razor-thin margins. The business model worked like this. Networks paid licensing fees for the right to air shows. Toy companies paid for the privilege of making products. Advertising revenue during commercial breaks covered the rest. Every piece had to fit together, or the math fell apart, and the math was falling apart. Hasbro produced a Pirates of Dark Water toy line in 1990 and 1991. The figures were actually pretty good. Detailed sculpts, solid action features, ships and creatures from the show. Hasbro knew how to make toys, but here's the problem. The show aired on Saturday mornings. That's one time slot, 1 day a week, on one network. If you missed it, you missed it. Compare that to the 80s syndication model. Transformers aired 5 days a week across hundreds of local stations. G.I. Joe was everywhere. Kids couldn't avoid those shows if they tried. Pirates of Dark Water had limited reach by design. Kids who didn't wake up early on Saturday, kids whose local ABC affiliate preempted the show, kids who had sports or chores or just missed a week, they never saw it. And if you don't see the show, you don't want the toys. The toy line underperformed expectations. Hasbro looked at the sales data and made the rational business decision. They quietly reduced their commitment. Planned waves of figures got canceled. The line was abandoned. Without strong toy revenue subsidizing production costs, the financial equation that kept the show alive started collapsing, and the competitive landscape wasn't helping. In 1991, the animation industry was shifting beneath everyone's feet. Disney was in their Renaissance period. The Little Mermaid had just conquered the box office. Beauty and the Beast was coming, and would become the first animated film nominated for Best Picture. Disney was redefining what animation could be. Nickelodeon was rising fast with original animated content that spoke directly to kids in ways network cartoons didn't. Fox Kids was launching their own block, and X-Men and Batman. The animated series were on the horizon. These shows would change what audiences expected from action animation. Saturday morning network cartoons were starting to feel like a dying format. The future was cable, syndication, and eventually streaming. Pirates of Dark Water was a prestige show, trapped in a declining time slot on a network that had no idea how to market something this ambitious. And then came the death blow. The show got renewed for a second season, but it wasn't really a renewal. It was a mercy killing in slow motion. The incomplete quest ABC renewed Pirates of Dark Water for a second season, running 1992 to 1993. On paper, that sounds like good news. But the episode order was reduced, the budget was cut, the writing was on the wall, and everyone involved could read it. Remember the premise. Ren has to find the 13 treasures of rule to stop the Dark Water and save the world. 13 specific artifacts, a clear, countable goal. After 21 episodes across both seasons, Ren and his crew had found exactly 8 treasures. 8 out of 13. 5 treasures remained scattered across Myr. The Dark Water was still spreading, still consuming, still winning. And then the show was canceled. No finale, no resolution, no ending, just nothing. This is the dark side of serialized storytelling. The risk that nobody talks about when they're praising narrative ambition. Episodic shows can be canceled anytime and it's fine. Each episode is a complete story. There's closure built into the format. If Scooby-Doo gets canceled, you've still seen complete mysteries get solved. The experience is whole. Serialized shows need to reach their destination. They make a promise to the audience. Invest in this journey and we'll take you somewhere meaningful. When they're canceled mid-journey, that promise is broken. The audience is left stranded in the middle of nowhere with no way home. Pirates of Dark Water promised a complete story, a hero's quest with a definitive goal that audiences could track episode by episode. It broke that promise through no fault of its own, and that betrayal stings in ways that clean failures never do. What makes it worse is everything that was lost. The show had genuine narrative momentum building. Ren was developing from a naive young prince into a hardened leader, making difficult decisions and bearing the weight of responsibility. That arc was incomplete. The crew dynamics were deepening with every episode. Ayaz started as a greedy pirate who only cared about treasure, but his loyalty to Ren was slowly, reluctantly growing. That transformation was incomplete. Tula had a mysterious backstory being slowly revealed. She was more than she appeared, connected to power she didn't fully understand. Her secrets were incomplete. Even the villain Bloth was evolving. He wasn't just a monster. He had cunning, motivation, history. The show was building towards something with him. That something was incomplete. The world of Myr had secrets still to be uncovered, factions still to be explored, a mythology still to be revealed. All of it stopped mid-sentence. According to interviews with the creative team over the years, they had the full story planned. They knew where every remaining treasure was hidden. They knew how the Dark Water would ultimately be defeated. They knew the character arcs that would never be animated, the plot twists that would never land, the emotional beats that would never hit. That story exists only in planning documents and the memories of people who worked on the show. Fans will never see it animated. The quest will never be complete. The Ghost Ship. After cancellation, Pirates of Dark Water entered a strange afterlife. The show ran in reruns on Cartoon Network throughout the mid-90s, finding a whole new audience of kids who stumbled across it while flipping channels. Those viewers discovered something rare, a Saturday morning cartoon that was actually good. Complex characters, real stakes, beautiful animation, an actual story going somewhere. And then they hit the wall. The same wall every fan hits. Where's the ending? What happens next? How does Ren find the other treasures? The internet age brought dedicated fan communities, message boards and forums filled with discussions about the show. Petitions for continuation circulated endlessly. Fanfiction writers took it upon themselves to complete the quest, imagining where the final treasures might be hidden and how the Dark Water could be defeated. Artists drew what the remaining adventures might have looked like, but no official revival ever materialized. The rights situation makes resurrection complicated. Hanna-Barbera was acquired by Turner Broadcasting in 1991, the same year the show premiered. Turner later merged with Time Warner, which became Warner Media, which became Warner Bros. Discovery. Pirates of Dark Water is buried somewhere in that massive corporate catalog, alongside literally thousands of other properties. It's not valuable enough to justify a major revival budget. It's not forgotten enough to lapse into public domain. It exists in corporate purgatory, owned but unloved. And here's the cruel irony. The show was ahead of its time, but being ahead of your time isn't always an advantage. When Avatar, The Last Airbender proved that serialized animated fantasy could work, could find massive audiences and critical acclaim and lasting cultural impact. Nobody looked back at Pirates of Dark Water as a predecessor. Nobody said, hey, Hanna-Barbera tried this first. When streaming services started mining 80s and 90s nostalgia, reviving He-Man and Thundercats and Transformers for new generations, Pirates of Dark Water wasn't on the list. The nostalgia base wasn't there. Not enough people remembered it. Not enough people cared. The show is respected by animation historians. It's beloved by the relatively small number of people who watched it and remember it fondly, but it never achieved the critical mass needed for resurrection. 30-plus years later, the Dark Water is still spreading across Myr. Ren is still searching for treasures he'll never find. The quest remains forever unfinished. Here's the melancholic truth that haunts everyone who loved this show. Pirates of Dark Water wasn't a failure of creativity. The writers did their jobs, the animators did their jobs, the voice actors did their jobs. Everyone involved created something genuinely special. It was a failure of circumstance. Wrong time, wrong business model, wrong network, wrong toy market. A perfect storm of factors that had nothing to do with the quality of the show itself. Somewhere in an alternate timeline, Pirates of Dark Water ran for 5 seasons. Ren found all 13 treasures. The Dark Water was defeated. Myr was saved. Eos completed his redemption arc. Tula's mysteries were revealed. The story had an ending that honored everything the audience invested in it. But we don't live in that timeline. We live in the one where the quest stopped at 8 treasures, where the Dark Water still spreads, where the hero is frozen mid-journey forever. Some shows fail and deserve to be forgotten. Pirates of Dark Water failed and deserves to be remembered, not just for what it was, but for what it could have been if the world had given it a chance. The quest remains unfinished, and that's the real tragedy. Thanks for watching. But here's the thing. Pirates of Dark Water isn't the only ambitious animated series that got cut down before it could finish telling its story. If you want to see another show that aimed high, built something special, and got canceled before the ending it deserved, click the video on your screen. I'll break down another incomplete quest that still haunts the fans who remember it. See you there.